Okay, Hazaka Baruch, good morning everyone. Thank you for joining us on this beautiful Tuesday morning as we are here studying together Perashat Pekudey. What does Pekudey mean? Okay, today's class is sponsored anonymously for the Refuah Shlema of all of Am Yisrael. If you'd like to sponsor a class, please email us info@ejsny.org. Pekudey, what does Pekudey mean? Pekudey means the records, the accountings. Okay, and the Perashah is the Perashah of accounting. It's the Perashah that discusses in detail all of the donations that were made towards the Mishkan. What was the total? They added it up, they tallied it up. How much gold, how much silver? Moshe is now giving a record to the people of how much everything came out to in total. Okay? Ele Pekudei HaMishkan. These are the records of the Mishkan, Mishkan HaEdut, that Moshe drew up at Moses' bidding. The work of the Levites under the direction of Itamar, Okay, fine. So Moshe over here is giving an accounting of how much was collected. What's the total? And the Midrash over here has something very interesting to say. Take a look at what the rabbis tell us in the Midrash Rabbah. Excuse me, Midrash Rabbah, yes it is. Lama asa imahem cheshbon. Good question. Why did Moshe have to give a calculation? Why do you have to calculate how much money was collected? HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yitbarach Shemo Ma'amino. God believes him. God knows how much there is. God trusts him. Did God think Moshe maybe took a little bit? That he had to now justify and clarify and show, look, this is our records, these are our books. See, it's all clean records. Did Hashem doubt Moshe? Can be. Like the pasuk says, Bechol beti ne'eman hu. Remember when Miriam spoke against Moshe, her brother? She spoke Lashon Hara. God calls her out with Aaron and Moshe, and he says, how dare you speak against Moshe? Bechol beti ne'eman hu. He is the most loyal in my entire house. So God trusts Moshe. God does not doubt Moshe. God completely trusts that he has, right? There was no pockets. Someone is writing in the chat correctly. There were no pockets. What was the problem? Lama amar lahem Moshe, bo v'nasok mishkan v'nachshov v'nechem. Why did Moshe have to now bring everyone and say, guys, okay, let's just do a quick accounting. Let's see the books. Why did Moshe do this? Ella, says the Midrash, you ready? You won't believe this. I'm not making this up. Sheshama Moshe letzayne Yisrael medabri me'acharav. Moshe heard some of the letzanim, they were mockers, that were talking. And it says, when Moshe would enter the oil, vehebitu achare Moshe. The pasuk says when Moshe would go to his tent, the people would watch him going. And as they would watch him, certain clowns, not all of them, of chas v'shalom, but certain people would say the following. Hami kala debare de amram. That means in Arabic, look how fat Moshe's neck is. Wow. Moshe is eating, huh? He's getting good dinners lately. Where's Moshe getting all that money from? Where's Moshe getting all the flus? Where's he being able to afford such steaks? Where he's eating well, huh? He's going out to restaurants. Where did all that money come from? And his friend would respond, Habero amarlo, Adam sheshalat al melechet hamishkan. The guy who was overseeing and who had access in and out of the treasure house of the Mishkan. You don't think he's going to make a little bit of money out of it? You don't think Moshe took a little bit for himself? Of course Moshe is fat. Of course he's rich. He had access to the Mishkan. He took whatever he wanted. He cut a little bit here, took a little bit over there. And it says the Midrash, Sheshama Moshe. Kach amar lahem Moshe. When Moshe heard this, he said, what? You think I took? Let's go and do a cheshbon. Let's calculate. And that's what it means. Elle Pekudei HaMishkan. These are the records of the Mishkan. So Moshe here is being accused by mockers, by clowns, by scoffers. They're saying, look, Moshe, he stole a little bit from the Mishkan. Now just to appreciate what's going on over here. The Be'er Yosef, he has a lot to say over here. Rav Yosef Tzvi Salant, okay? He has a lot to say. But he begins and he says, we have to really ask the obvious question. Okay, yes, they're scoffers and they're mockers. But at the end of the day, there has to be some type of reason that caused them to create this false accusation. They say when there's smoke, there's fire. So here they're spreading fire about Moshe. But what was the smoke that led to the fire? There had to have been something. You don't make up something about someone if there's 0, 0, 0. There has to have been something that they were able to take all of their lashon hara about Moshe and to now use that smoke as proof. But what was the smoke? What was the evidence that they saw? There had to have been something. You don't just make up random about a random person. There has to have been something that caused you. You spread lashon hara about someone that they're committing infidelity. You don't just say that about anyone. You have to have seen something, even though it's far-fetched, but it's something. I saw him walk into a hotel one night. Okay, so that's something. Again, very hard to get from there to cheating on his wife. There's still a long bridge in between those two. Just because he went to a hotel. Okay, but there's something. You saw, I understand. You saw something that caused you to maybe think that. What did they see about Moshe? What was it that caused them to have this gossip about Moshe Rabbeinu? Says the Be'er Yosef. Unbelievable. Yadua sheYisrael ksheyatzu miMitzrayim hayu kulam ashirim. We know that when the Jewish people left Egypt, they were loaded. They had a lot of money. Where did the Jews get all the money from when they left Mizraim? We know two places. They took from the Egyptians on their way out. They said to their neighbors, hey, you mind if we have some money? And the Egyptians gave them. But they also took money at Yam Suf when they were going from the sea. All the Egyptians that drowned, their gold, their jewelry started being brought up into shore, washed up onto shore, and the Jews took. So the Jews became rich 2 times. And everyone went out of Egypt with donkeys and donkeys laden with riches and gold and money. Okay. There's one person that didn't take money. Our rabbis tell us, Moshe Rabbeinu, lo lakach mibizat Mitzrayim. He didn't take any of the spoils of Egypt and not of the spoils of the sea. Why? The pasuk says, Hacham lev yikach mitzvot. A wise man rushes to take mitzvot. That means, while everyone was rushing to take the money, where was Moshe? What was he doing? Moshe ran. Anyone know? While everyone's running to go get money, Moshe is running. Moshe is rushing to go and find the bones of Yosef. Moshe is trying to find where is Yosef buried. So Moshe is running after the Mizrahi of bringing the bones of Yosef back to Israel. And therefore, we could say one thing about Moshe. He was great, he was smart, he was everything, but he wasn't rich. Everyone else was rich. Everyone else took money from the Egyptians. Moshe is the only exception. He's busy taking mitzvot. He doesn't want money. He doesn't care about rich. He wants mitzvot. Good for him. But he's not rich. Bottom line, he doesn't have money. So when did Moshe actually get money? Did he ever stay poor? Did he stay poor his whole life? No way. Moshe became rich very, very soon after that. When? Anyone know where Moshe got his wealth from? Very good. From the leftover carvings of the tablets. When Moshe Rabbeinu brought the first tablets down that God gave him, he broke them, and God says, Pesol lecha shnei luchot avanim karishonim. Etch out for yourself a second pair of tablets. So Moshe, you make the next pair. And Pesol, he carved the next, whatever shape it was. Again, we today draw the half circle on top, right? But whatever the shape the tablets were, he carved them out and he brought them up with him. And the psol comes from the word psolet. Psolet means the garbage, the waste. The waste. So Moshe took all the waste. And God says, is it fair that you should be poor when you're doing a mizvah? No, sir. I'm going to make sure that you become rich. And God let Moshe keep Moshe she'asak be'atmotav shel Yosef yeh ani. Moshe, who dealt with the bones, should stay poor. Eten lo et hapsolet sheyashi. I'm going to give him all of the leftovers of the tablets, that he's going to become rich from them. And we know, of course, The tablets were made out of sapphire. So just imagine how rich Moshe became from the leftover of the sapphire that he cut out. Pesol lecha psolet. We gave a class a couple of weeks ago in Perashat Ki Tisa, where this pasuk is mentioned, about another beautiful idea of pesol lecha, that sometimes when the first tablets break, sometimes when something goes wrong in life, in a relationship, at work, somewhere something is going to go south and break, we must remember to go for round two, pesol lecha, to fix it, to mend it, to maybe break a little bit and remove the waste of ourselves. That's what we said last time. But over here, the literal interpretation that our rabbis give, more direct, pesol lecha, Moshe, take all the waste of the tablets and use them for yourself. So up till this point, Moshe was very poor. And then when he cuts out the tablets, he now becomes very rich. Anyone know what date that was, by the way? What date did he go up third time around? Rosh Chodesh Elul. So Moshe carves out the tablets and he becomes rich, but he's on the mountain so no one sees him. No one knows that he's rich. And he comes down on Yom Kippur. But what does he command the people on the next day? To start bringing money for the Mishkan. So the first day the people see Moshe, the first opportunity they have to see him, all of a sudden he's very rich. And it happens to be just a coincidence, the same day that the people were bringing money to the for the Mishkan. So you understand what's going on in people's minds? You see how sometimes someone could get a little bit confused over here? Says the Be'er Yosef, this is what happened with the people. They saw Moshe poor. They see Moshe come down from the mountain. He's commanding everyone to bring money. All of a sudden, he's rich. What do you think happened? Where do you think he got fat from? Of course, he took the money from the Mishkan. It's only understandable. He's working for this organization. He's going to cut a little bit. He's going to take a little bit. Okay, it happens. There's overhead. What are you going to do? That's the world. And they accuse over here Moshe Rabbeinu. And this is how the Be'er Yosef explains why they accused him. It wasn't for nothing. There was smoke. Now, we know the truth. We know where he got that money from. He got the money from the tablets. But what an amazing lesson. Rabotai, you know what I see from here? I think there are 3 lessons that we can learn. There's many lessons. But just for today at least, let's talk about 3 lessons that we can learn from this amazing midrash. Number 1, beautiful, simple lesson. Don't jump to conclusions. So many times in our lives, we see something and we like to feel like we know everything. We like to feel like it makes sense. So we quickly play out the rest of the story. We read a book, or we read one page, and we quickly know what's going to happen in the end. We see a movie and we love guessing. He's the bad guy. He's the good guy. He's the one. It's going to be him. It's behind the door. It's over there, right? We love showing that we know. Sometimes, maybe you've had this experience as well. Many times when I'm saying a story to my classroom, to my students, even in my house, and I'll have always, especially with immature people, when I'm saying a story, you always have that one kid that heard the story before, and what does he do for everyone? He kills it for everyone, right? He says, oh, it's his eyes, right? He says the ending, boom. He killed the whole story. Hazak Baruch, Rabbi Hananiah ben Akashia Omer. Thank you so much, Joe, for killing the whole story for everyone, right? So that is what people like to show. They like to show, I'm smart, I know, I see, I could understand everything from the beginning. In life, we love jumping to conclusions. And our rabbis tell us in Pirkei Avot, the first piece of advice, Hevu metunim badin. Be deliberate in judgment. And the Mishnah is not only talking to judges. The Mishnah is talking to every single one of us. Because ultimately we must remember that all of us, in a way, are judges. All of us are passing judgment constantly on people, on situations, on circumstances, on Hashem. You see somebody in shidduchim, you're judging them, are they good for me? You see somebody in the knis, in the synagogue, you judge, are they good to be worthy to be my friend? You see a rabbi, you judge, are they a good rabbi? You see a professional, you judge, are they a good professional? You see someone at work, are they worthy? Are they moral? Right? We're constantly passing judgment on people, and a lot of times we have a first impression. We have a blink, right? And it's very hard to get rid of a blink. First impressions are very powerful. They only happen once, right? And it's important to not let that first impression cloud the truth, because a lot of times we could be wrong. It's hard for us as people to admit we were wrong. It's hard for us to say, my first impression was incorrect, because that means that my judgment is flawed. And if that's flawed, who knows what else could be flawed? Maybe I was wrong about all the other things in my life. We hate admitting we were wrong, even to a small degree. Sometimes we're forced. But a lot of times, we'll do whatever we can to justify our first initial judgment, right? Our first impression. And our rabbis tell us, Hevu metunim badin. Be very deliberate. Just because you see something, and it looks like that, and it makes sense, don't jump to conclusions. Hevedan et kol ha'adam lekaf zechut. Judge people favorably. You're right. You see Moshe poor. You see him the next day rich. Obviously, it has to be that the guy stole from the Mishkan. Because what else happened? He's poor. He collected money from everyone, and he's rich. 1 + 1 = 2. That's all it could be. The answer is, well, maybe there's parts of the story that you don't realize. Maybe you don't see everything. You think you see everything. What else could it be? But do you know? You don't know. You're assuming. Very dangerous to assume. Don't assume. Hevu metunim badin. I love this story. I don't know if it's a true story, but it's a nice story. There was once a fellow on a plane, and we said the story before many times. So the fellow notices there's a big rabbi. He doesn't like this rabbi so much. He's not one of his students. But he sees this big rabbi that everyone loves. Everyone kisses his hand. Anyways, they're on a plane, and all of a sudden he notices this rabbi is not doing any of the mitzvot on the plane. They're praying in the back. He doesn't get up to pray. Eating, he's not washing his hands. All of a sudden, this rabbi forgot that he's a rabbi. And this guy's like, oh, you see, I knew it. This guy's a phony. He's a charlatan. He's a faker. When we land, I'm going to expose him, right? We love that word, expose him, right? I'm going to expose him. What happens? They land, they get off the plane, and he's following the rabbi. All of a sudden, he sees the Chevra Kadisha, the burial society, coming to the rabbi, say, Rabbi, please follow us. Your mother's body is this way. And all of a sudden, the guy realized that the rabbi was an onen. The rabbi was in the morning state where one is forbidden to do mitzvot because they're in the middle of burial. And therefore, he wasn't allowed to pray. He wasn't allowed to do those commandments. So this is such a simple example of how sometimes we could see something that's obvious. What else could it be? He's clearly wrong. He's clearly neglecting halakha. Why didn't he go pray with everyone? What else could be the answer? And we think we played it all out. We think we'll know everything from the beginning till the end. But you don't know the whole story. Don't jump to conclusions. A lot of times, a person could enter their home and they asked their spouse to do something and they see, oh, it wasn't done. And before they even ask why, they asked them if they could have meat for dinner. Their spouse made dairy for dinner. They asked them if they could purchase a certain food from this store. They purchased the food from another store. They asked them if they could pick up their laundry. They didn't pick up their cleaners. And what do? They come in the house. They didn't even ask. Boom! World War III. Well, maybe now 4. They're going and they're yelling and they're killing and they're yelling. What are you doing? I ask you one thing. Why can't you ever listen to? Whoa, time out. Relax. Ask the question. Is everything okay? Find out. Don't jump to conclusions. Don't make assumptions. Don't get into fights before you first see the details and the facts. See the facts. It's very important. It's very important, especially with cases that come up in law. They always have to look at the facts. Can't spread stuff about people just on an assumption or on a rumor. You have to know the facts. Find out. So this is lesson number one. Lesson number one that we learned. These letzanim, these mockers, they had every reason to assume that they were right, but they were wrong. They were wrong. Lesson number two. There will always be haters. You have to know that. You could be Moshe Rabbeinu. You could be the most humble, selfless person in the world. You could be doing everything right. You gave up your life for the Jewish people. You said to God, God, erase me, and if not me, if you're not going to forgive them, then get rid of me as well. And I'm not moving forward if you don't forgive the people. And he went up for 120 days, no food, no drink, no sleep. You could do everything from A to Z for the people. Talet rohi, we say in Arabic. You give your life for them. At the end of the day, you could do everything right from beginning to end, and you care about them, and you give them, and you will always encounter haters. There will always be people that will suspect you. There will always be people that will tell you that you're wrong, that will accuse you, that will make fun of you, even if you're Moshe Rabbeinu. So first of all, if there's someone in your life that's accusing you of something incorrectly, if there's someone that's telling you that you're wrong, if there's someone that's making fun of your choices in life, your lifestyle, you're in good company. You're in company with Moshe Rabbeinu. So give yourself a pat on the back and join the club. Okay? You're with great people. Even Moshe had haters. And again, think about how low do you have to be to steal from the Mishkan? How low? How wicked? It's one thing you steal, I understand. You steal, you need money, you steal. This guy has money, I take from that guy. He has a lot of it and I steal. Fine. Is it wrong? It's wrong. Is it understandable? It's understandable. People steal, they need money. But to steal from Hashem? You can imagine a guy going to the tzedakah box that's going to the poor people and he's stealing from the tzedakah box. It's crazy. To steal from God's house. We know that if a person takes one of the klei sharet, one of the vessels, the halakha says, kana'im pog'im bo, the worst halakha possible, that tzaddikim are allowed to kill the guy on the spot. Again, never practiced. But that's how pathetic someone has to be, that even we allow people to kill him on the spot. Because it will never happen. You got to be out of your mind to steal from God's house. Literally, it's in his house. There's cameras everywhere. You want to rob a store? That's fine. You rob a store. You're robbing the White House? No one robs the White House. Security from top to bottom, from A to Z, with cameras and everything. You pick where you rob, right? You don't rob the what, right? Okay, maybe money heist. They rob over there the big things. But usually you're not robbing important places. You're robbing small people where there's not a lot of cameras where you could hide incognito. To rob the Mishkan? That's what you're accusing? And who are you accusing of that? You're not accusing an Amaretz. You're not accusing a simpleton. You're accusing Moshe Rabbeinu. Panim el panim. He spoke to God face to face. That's the guy that you think stole from God's. You don't think Moshe was aware of Hashem's presence? He spoke to Hashem. He was aware of Hashem. He knew about Hashem all the time. But this is the koach of disbelievers, of haters, of mockers. They can take something that you know to be so important and so obvious and so real, and they'll throw doubt. And they'll start throwing accusations. And they'll start spinning it. And they'll start making it sound like what you're doing is ridiculous. And how could you be living like this? And how could you be practicing like this? It makes no sense. How many choices that we've made in our lives, and many times, you know who the comments come from? The comments come from actually people that love you very much. They come from friends. They come from family. A lot of times it comes from jealousy. Because they can't stand. You ready for this? A lot of times someone will start becoming a little bit more observant. And the friends can't stand to see that you're becoming more observant than them. You think you're better than me? And they start accusing you and they start mocking. You know why they're knocking? They're knocking and mocking because they can't stand to see and realize that you've become better than them. They can't take that. You'll always have people in life that will find a way to ridicule even the most beautiful person, the most precious things. We must remember that if we know the facts and if we know the truth, can't let it get to us. I know what I'm doing is right. I know that my learning is important. You're right, people make fun of me. Oh, Rabbi, calling me names. Come on, come golfing with us. What are you learning in the morning for? Right? I know what I'm doing is important. Disregard the comments of the mockers. There'll always be haters. You'll never make everyone happy. I'll tell you of one of my favorite mashals. You know what's a mashal? Mashal is a parable to something that gives you an example, right? So here's the mashal. Father and his son walking on donkey. Okay? Father and son walking with their donkey. You know this one? You know this one? So once a father with a son, and the son's riding on the donkey, and they pass by a group of older men. And as they pass by the older men, the father overhears the older men saying, look at this generation. Look at the chutzpah. Look at the chutzpah. Where's the respect? Making his old man walk. If it was me, you put the father on the donkey. The kid's young, he's strong, he has legs. Well, as they turn the corner, the father quickly says to his son, son, not right. I should be on the donkey. You walk, you're young, you're strong, I'll get on. So they start walking on, the son walks, the father's on the donkey. They keep walking, they pass by another group of older men. This time, they overhear the guy saying, look at that father, what a cruel dad, making his young son walk. He's weak legs, he's still not developed. The father's strong, the father should walk. What kind of horrible, cruel father is this? They turn the corner, the father says, all right, son, get on the donkey, the both of us. This time the son gets on the donkey, and they walk by another group of men, and this time they overhear them saying, oh, unbelievable, could you look at this? 2 people on a donkey. 2 people? Where's the Rahmanut? Where's the pity? At least one at a time. You can't, both of them on the donkey? So the father says, all right, son, both of us off. So this time they start walking next to the donkey, both of them. And they pass by a final group of older men, and they overhear them saying, look at these guys. 3 hamorim, 3 idiots. None of them using the donkey. Right? So this is a beautiful example. How sometimes in life, you'll never make everyone happy. Right? You do this, people are going to yell at you. You do that, people are going to yell at you. Right? We have to believe, okay? My mother's telling me that the author La Fontaine, okay? I don't know what that is. Is that a book? Either way. Author La Fontaine in French. Either way, this is something that Moshe reminds us. There's always going to be clowns. There's always going to be haters. There's always going to be haters. You have to do what you know is right. Whether it's religion, in shidduchim, getting rid of a bad habit. Sometimes people will make fun of you. Oh, well, you stop smoking? Oh, look at you, all health now. Right? Don't worry about those comments. They're going to come. You're starting to keep healthy. You're starting to keep kosher. You're starting to work out. You're starting to get rid of bad addiction. Whatever it is that you're doing, there's going to be people in life that will find a way to knock it. Our duty, our obligation is to not let their comments get to our heads. Okay? And that's the second lesson. Lesson number 3. Okay? So number 1, don't jump to conclusions. And number 2, there will always be haters. And lesson number 3 is, what is Moshe's reaction to these haters? What does Moshe respond to these mockers? What does he tell them when they start insulting him? When they start accusing him? When they start saying, you stole? What does Moshe say? Does he yell back? How dare you accuse me? I'm the most righteous guy. I've never stolen a thing. Da-da-da. Does Moshe argue? Does he get angry? Does he become insulted? How dare you? No. What does Moshe do? He shows them the truth. You have doubt? No problem. I'm not worried because I know the truth and I'll prove the truth. You're accusing me of what I was doing at this time? This is what I was doing at this time. I could show you the text. I could show you this. Transparency. You're accusing me that I took money? No problem. Here's the cheshbon. Here's the accounting. Here are the records from A to Z. Every single penny. You look at it. Every single penny. I'll show you where it went. There's a beautiful mashal. One time, there was a king that had a lot of jewels and gold, and he wanted a tailor to make him a beautiful robe. I heard this mashal from my father, actually. And he wanted the tailor to make him a beautiful robe. And he gives him all the materials. He says, make me the best robe possible. He says, no problem. He makes the robe. He comes back to the king. He says, Your Honor, here is your robe. Anyways, the advisors of the king, they say, Your Honor, that tailor, you know how much money he stole from you? He stole a lot of money. You gave him this amount of gold. You gave him this amount of material, of silk, of linen, whatever. He only used half of it. The guy's very rich right now from all of the money. He cheated you. He charged you, plus he took extra materials for himself. And the king said, what are you talking about? I know that tailor. He works for me for years. He's very honest. He says, no, look at your robe. It's not true. The king started believing their suspicions. So he goes over to the tailor. He says, you're up on trial, and I'm trying you for treason, for theft from the royal government, from the king. The tailor says, Your Honor, I didn't take a thing. I promise you, whatever you gave me. He says, no, it's not. I could see that you became a little bit wealthier than you're supposed to have been. You must have stolen. He says, Your Honor, if you like, I can prove myself, but you have to promise me that you will not stop my entire case until the end. You will not interrupt me from beginning till end. I could plead my case. I could prove myself. He says, no problem. I won't interrupt anything that you do or that you say. No problem. Tailor asks for the robe. They bring the robe. This beautiful, just try to imagine the most magnificent robe. And everyone is just jaw dropped. And all of a sudden the tailor takes scissors and he starts cutting the robe. And everyone's yelling, stop him! No. You promised me you won't stop me till the end. And everyone stands back. And he starts cutting, and he starts cutting, and he starts opening, and he starts spreading, and he starts removing, and he starts unfolding. And after everything was done, he shows the king, look, Your Honor, this is everything you gave me. Here's all the gold, here's all the silver, here's all the silk, here's all of the ribbon, here's all of the yarn, everything from A to Z. Right? Sometimes in life, there are people that are going to accuse us. And what does Moshe do? Moshe doesn't get angry. He says, no problem. I know the truth. I know that I didn't steal. Now again, usually when people get angry, when people are guilty, they yell back. When people are guilty, I'm offended, and they try to flip the script. I'm offended, and they try to make you into an aggressor. How dare you accuse me? I don't have to prove myself, right? So often, when the person is guilty, they'll play the card the other way. But when we know we're innocent, and we know that there's nothing to worry about, we know the truth, there's transparency. You're worried? No problem. Here, let's open up the robe. Let's see where every single penny went. You worried I took money? No problem. Let's do a quick calculation on the credit card, and let me show you where every dollar of the Mishkan was allocated to. This is a very powerful lesson. I think we spoke about this back in Perashat Lech Lecha. God says to Avraham, Ki barech avarecha umkalelcha aor. I'm going to bless those who bless you, and I'm going to curse those who curse you. Right? I'm going to bless those who bless you, and I'm going to curse those who curse you. But what's very interesting, if you pay attention to the Hebrew, it doesn't say, I'm going to curse those who curse you. It says, kalelcha aor. It switches the verb. It doesn't say, kalelcha akalel. It's not consistent. It doesn't use the same verb. Those who curse you, I will curse. It says, kalelcha aor. Now, aor is a synonym for kelala. They both mean to curse. But for some reason, the pasuk switches the verb. It uses now a synonym instead of remaining consistent. There's a beautiful lesson of here. God was saying to Avraham, and really we have to ask, Why would anyone hate Avraham? Avraham was an amazing guy. Avraham was Isha Chesed. Avraham was lovely. Who could hate him? The answer is, if you hate Avraham, if you hate such a good, nice guy, it has to be that you don't really know the true Avraham. There must be a misunderstanding. If you're accusing Avraham, it's because you don't know Avraham. And the only way out, really, is to show people the real Avraham, to show them the light of who he really is. Says the Pasuk, Umkalilcha aor. Those who curse you, not I will curse. Those who curse you, aor, from the word or. What does or mean? Light. Those who curse you, light up the world for them. Show them the light, show them the truth. And automatically their curses, their attacks, their accusations will go away. Not to necessarily curse those who curse you. And that's really what Moshe does. Moshe says, you're cursing me, you're accusing me, no problem. Let me show you the truth. Let's do a Pekudey. Let's do a cheshbon. Let's do a calculation. Let's see the records. And I'm clean. Right? I told you this story one time. It was one time waiting for my son outside of my building, picking up from the bus. So I'm waiting. All of a sudden, Jewish lady, she comes down and she sees me, and she sees me with a kippah. So she says, nice to meet you. Do you live in this building? I say, yes, I do. She says, oh, I also live here. I says, very nice. She says, are you Jewish? I say, what gave it away? So she says, yeah, I'm also Jewish. I say, oh, very nice. Nice to meet you. How long have you been here? Small talk. Anyways, she asked me, so what do you do for a living? And this is where I made a mistake. I said, I'm a rabbi. And once I said that, she's like, oh, you're a rabbi. So let me ask you this. Right? I'm like, oh no. And she says to me, you ready for the question? How do you justify the fact that Israel kills innocent Arabs? This is her question. Now, I have 1 second to answer. I gotta give her an answer that she's, it's very hard. But the truth is that for me, there wasn't a question. For me, this was a very easy question because she's accusing someone of something that I know is false. And I know the truth. So I asked her, have you ever lived in Israel? She said no. I said, do you ever visit Israel? She said no. I said, I lived in Israel for 5 years of my life. I lived in Israel, and I want you to know something. Did you know that 20% of the population is Arab? She's like, what? I said, did you know that 20% of the parliament is Arab? She's like, what? I'm like, do you know that the Arabs come to our hospitals to get treated? She's like, what are you talking about? It's in Baz. I'm like, I lived there. These are the facts. All of a sudden, she became very apologetical. I think I should start, maybe I should read up more about this. See, this is sometimes, there's litzanim in the world. There's mockers. I don't know what kind of fake news she's watching. But there's fake news. And it's scary. You know what the scary thing is? Here's the scary thing. The same way it's so obvious to you and I that this is fake, even though sometimes there are certain outlets that are showing this as fact. We know the truth. We have inside info. We've been to Israel. We both know that it's completely made up. Just think about how many maybe other things that we don't know about, that we're not educated about, that we trust the news for. How many other things could also be made up? It's very scary, actually, when you think about it. Because it happens to be that we know the truth. We know what the facts are. But there are other things that we don't, and we assume if it's on the news, it must be true. And this lady, she's just a victim. And what's the answer? Mekalilcha aor. Someone's cursing you, your job is to show them. Your job is to light up, just give them the facts. On their own, you can't argue on facts. Show them the truth. And this is what Moshe does. He doesn't get angry. He doesn't get insulted. He doesn't start shouting or yelling. He says, no problem. Here's the accounting. Ele Pekudey Hamishkan. So I think these are amazing lessons in how to handle and how to counter accusations. Number one, again, remembering that from the accuser end, don't jump to conclusions. But from the receiver end, number two, there will always be haters. And number three, the best answer is always the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. We'll stop over here, wishing you all a wonderful day. God willing, we'll see you all tomorrow. Bye-bye.